Hello there, and I thank you for joining me today on my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa Robbins from DeeZinesByD, and I have a technique which is ink blending on embossing powders to share with you today. Now, I recently saw up on the Alta New blog that there was a video that used this type of ink blending whereby you make your edges a bit darker and fade into a lighter color in the center. And I've seen this done multiple times before, but it just kind of jogged my memory, and I thought, hey, I could use this technique for actual Christmas cards using some of my Christmas stamps. So today I have 4 cards to share with you. They were all done in the exact same way, but just using different products. And I made 2 slimline cards and 2 A7 size, which are 5" by 7" cards, one in landscape and one in portrait formation. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using the Simon Says stamp, the Magic of Christmas stamp set for 2 of my cards, but different images are what I'm going to be using. So first I'll start off with this nice pine cone and spruce image, and I'm just going to use my Versamark watermark ink to stamp out the image using my acrylic block. Then I'm going to use some Alta New rose gold embossing powder. Now, I've always found that this embossing powder doesn't show too much of a rose gold color, but actually gives you a nice light gold looking embossing powdered look. So I tend to use this for a lot of my projects where I want to use gold, but to not have it too yellow. So anyways, I'm going to continue with the rest of my panel here, and I'll just stamp out this acorn and spruce image a few more times, coming in at different angles on either side of my panel. Now, the important thing to note is to keep one area of your panel kind of open. Like, don't completely stamp the whole panel because you want room to put your sentiment, and this is where you want your color to be the lightest. So that helps you create that nice color gradient in the end. So now that I'm done with this image, I decided I wanted to add a bit more. So I took the other little pine branch that they have there, and I just stamped that a couple more times to fill in the panel, except for that one area, like I said. So now I'm going to move on to some pink cardstock that I use here. This is just Recollections cardstock. And sorry, I didn't mention it before. I used like a minty colored Recollections cardstock for the first one. And for this one, I decided to use some Ranger Silver embossing powder to get a bit of a different look, and I chose the mistletoe and the poinsettia to stamp here. Now for the A7 size card, I'm going to use the Simon Says stamp Joyful Season stamp set, and it has this nice border image, so I thought I might stamp this out on all 4 sides of my panel. So in the same fashion, and this time using this is not the Misty, this is the Tonic Tim Holt stamp platform. And this one is great because it just has a bit more area for me because I am using a bigger size panel here. And I'm going to be able to just turn my cardstock around and stamp all 4 sides of it. Now, another thing to note is because this stamp is very detailed, a stamp positioner does come in handy because it's going to get all those little details, and you can always double stamp it to get them all down. Now for the last panel, I'm going to be using this Waffle Flower Oversized Mary Stamp and Die set. I'm just kind of showing you that I have it here. I'm going to use it a bit later on, but for the actual background, I decided to use the Simon Says Stamp Snowflake Season stamp set. And this I had since last year. It actually came out with a card kit, and I decided that I'd finally take it out and use it today. And it has that one border piece, which I'm going to do on 2 sides. And then I'm going to use all the little snowflakes that come with this set and position them within the center. Now, this is where this stamp positioner comes in handy because I can just kind of position these snowflakes exactly where I want them, pick them up with the lid, and then just stamp them in one go on my stamp positioner. So again, for this panel, I've used the Ranger Silver embossing powder, and I've just melted all of that powder down. And now we can move on to the ink blending step. So for this green panel, I'm going to be using the Alta New Emerald ink. A lot of the inks I'm going to be using are Alta New because these are the inks that I have on hand. You can use whichever inks you like in whichever colors you like, but usually what you want to do is match your colors to your panel so that you can get a nice color gradient in the same tone. So I'm just basically rubbing this ink or blending this ink all over the edges. So what you want to do is pick up your ink with your brush. You might want to dab off a little bit or just start your brushing on the outside of your panel and brush in towards the center. And your main goal is to cover the images that you have stamped down. Now that area that you left open where you're going to put your sentiment, you're not going to put as much of the color on there. And then as you can see, I added some jet black ink just along the edges. Now the most important part here is to rub off all that excess dye ink from the embossing, and that's where you get the real nice effect of that embossing powder, or the shine of that melted embossing powder underneath that, or coming through those nice dark inks. So for the next panel here, I'm using some Altenew Galactic Stream and then again the jet black ink on the edges. Once you get going, this gets really easy to do. This looks like a lot of work, but it actually didn't take me that long once I had all the images stamped down. So now for the snowflake panel, I'm using Starlight and Jet Black, in the exact same fashion. I'm wiping off all that excess ink. And then the final panel, I'm using some Cosmic Berry and again the Jet Black. So what the Jet Black does is it just darkens up your edges and it deepens the color at the edges, which gives you more of a dramatic effect. So here are the panels that you end up with. Here's that nice purple with the silver embossing powder. For the snowflakes, we use the silver with some blue, which is very indicative of snowflakes. For this panel and the next, I used the same kind of colors, except that one I used a bit more of a blue color, and this one I kept more green. So now we have to put these together. I have this piece die, which comes from the Photoplay Peace and Joy dies, and I'm actually showing here that these cards that I get from Simon Says Stamp, I actually use them for die cutting. I mean, they're like the perfect type of cardstock. They're a bit glossy, so it can be a bit hard to glue them together, but they're nice and thick, so I like using them to build up my dies like this. Or sorry, my die cut pieces. Now, I stamped out and heat embossed the On Earth using some white embossing powder on black cardstock, and I used that stamp from the Simon Says Stamp Slimline Scene Builder set. And now I'm just going to put this sentiment onto my card, and I'm just going to keep that kind of simple there so that we can kind of highlight those borders and the ink blending. So for the next panel, I'm using the Birch Press Designs Mary Sugar Script die along with the sentiment here from the Waffle Flower Oversized Mary set, and I'm basically sticking those together. So a lot of the cardstocks that I'm using are from Sizzix. So I've told you before that I use these Sizzix packs, and they come in various colors and various different textures. You get glitter, you get metallics, you get matte metallics, like it all comes together, and I've linked them all up in my explanations on my blog. So go ahead and look for them there. Now I also have those mistletoes that I was using, and those are from the Concord and Ninth set. And then for the snowflake set, I've used this Eliza snowflake. This actually again came with the complete card kit that was released last January by Simon Says. I know that's not available, but these products are available separately within the Simon Says Stamp store, so you can find them there. And that cardstock for the snowflake was like a nice holographic cardstock that was released by Simon last year, and I'm pretty sure they still have that in their store as well. The Mary, I cut that out using the Waffle Flower set, and the actual cardstock is the Ivory Glitter cardstock, which is from Sizzix, the one that I've been talking about. And then the Little and Bright sentiment was from the stamp set that I stamped out with some VersaFine Clair Black Nocturne ink. And that's how I kind of put this card together. So finally, well, almost finally for me, because I will show you how I design the insides of these cards, I'm using my Lolly Bead gems, which I've explained before, nail art gems. They're linked in my blog as well if you wanted to check them out. And I'm using some reds, blacks, whites, the AB color gems, and also the greens to just jazz up these cards. So I've added the red and the black gems as the little berries on my mistletoe between these two slimline cards. And With this piece card, I decided to use some of the green gems that I have. I had them and I haven't actually used them, so I thought, oh, maybe let's mix them with some of the white gems and see how it looks on this card. And it did turn out pretty nice. So once that one's done, I'll move on to the snowflake one. And for this one, I used Pink Fresh Studios Jewel Mix in the light blue and white that it comes with. So this is more indicative of snowflakes. I like them because they kind of have like an A-B shine to them. So they shine like a rainbow of colors and kind of pick up the colors from your card, which is very helpful when like matching gems to your cards. So now for the card insides, I did these all the same way. So I'm basically stamping the same images that I used on the front of the card on the inside, in the top right corner and in the bottom left corner. And I'm just doing this in plain black VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And one thing I do want to note when you're doing this, make sure your stamped image is completely dry before you move on to the next step, which I'm going to show you. If they aren't, you're going to get some smudging and you might kind of ruin your inside. So make sure you use your heat gun to just make sure it's completely dry before you move on. So again, I'm just stamping out these in the exact same way I stamped out the front, except I'm not heat embossing here. I am just plain stamping out the images. And this is how I tie in the front design to the inside. So now I'm going to continue this ink blending technique on the inside of the card, but in a much more light-handed fashion. So I'm using some Volcano Lake and Emerald ink here, and I'm using mainly that Volcano Lake to lightly color or just ink blend this ink over top of those images that I stamped. So I'm using the light color because I want it to kind of blend into the white or kind of fade into the white. And then the emerald, which is a bit darker, is going to help me add a little bit of contrast by darkening the edges. So I'm going to continue in this fashion, blending my inks onto the insides of the rest of the 3 cards in the exact same manner, but using the coordinating inks that would go with each card. So here I'm using Eastern Sky and Starlight inks. So the Eastern Sky makes that lighter blue that can blend into the white, and the Starlight helps me create. So this is how I've designed all the cards, and I find this makes a really nice design, and I think that you can use this for any type of card you're making. So today I'm making Christmas cards, and I saw this online for Altenew for their, I think it was their Build a Flower or Paint a Flower cards, and you can use this for any type of design that you have. This is why I like these techniques, because you can basically take them and apply them to any type of card that you may be making. Now, I do want to just take a second to apologize. My computer is being a little finicky today, and so my recordings are kind of lagging, and so I'm sorry if this doesn't actually match the picture, but I really hope that this turns out okay. So anyways, moving on, I used the Puffy Heart, Purple Wine, and Midnight Violet for the purple card, and I actually ended up using 3 colors here because the Puffy Heart and the Purple Wine didn't create enough of a contrast for me. So that's also something you can take into account. You don't have to use just 2 colors. You can use more than 2. And for all of the sentiments on the insides of my cards, I'm going to be using the Altenew Blessing stamp set. And sorry, my head gets in the way here a bit, but I have to line up my stamps. And then I'm going to stamp all of the printed type. So this is from the Blessing stamp set in black VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And then I'll be using different colors to stamp out the sentiments from Simon Says Stamp Just For You stamp set. And these are the larger sentiments within the card that are Season's Greeting or Merry Christmas. And I will be stamping those with inks that match the cards that they go with. So for the snowflake card, I used the Medieval Blue, which created that very nice Merry Christmas. And then for the purple card, I will be using the VersaFine Clair Purple Delight, which makes a nice purpley pink color, which goes with the rest of the card. And as you can see, that has a nice effect. And it helps match everything and helps coordinate everything. Now for the final card here, I decided to use 2 ink colors. I ended up using VersaFine Clair Oasis Green and Warm Breeze because I found that the green was a bit too green and I wanted to add a bit of blue to it to make it a bit more turquoisey. And actually, in the end, it turned out pretty nice. You just have to make sure to kind of wipe off your stamp pad because you will get a bit of the other color on the pad. Now, finally, to just jazz up the insides of these cards just a little bit, I'm using some diamond stickles. Now, this color is actually really cool because it's diamond. It shines different colors. So even though I'm adding it to the purple here and then to the other colors, it picks up that color underneath. It shines a bit purple and then a bit like greeny, like that AB color that you get when a gem shines different colors. So you can see that just adds a little bit more interest to the inside. You could do this on the front of your heart as well, but I thought that it had enough jazz with the embossing powder, so I just use this on the insides. So these are my final cards. I'll show you them all here. This was the 5x7 portrait, and that turned out really nice using the stamps as borders. This snowflake card turned out really nice as well. And I like how I just used the border on the top and bottom here. It didn't busy up the inside of the card too much and just added a little bit of oomph. This pine cone card is one of my favorites. I just really like how the color turned out with the embossing powder. And then finally, this purple card, which is a little bit more of a feminine Christmas card or a non-traditional colored Christmas card you could use. You could also do this with a pink. I think that would look really good. So these are my final ink blended embossing powder cards for you. I hope that this technique is something that you like and something that you can pick up and kind of use for any of the cards that you're making. It really can be used for any type of card in any type of occasion. Now, if you did have a nice time or you liked watching my video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of any other videos that I post. And of course, you should subscribe if you want that notification bell to do anything. I'll leave you here with another video of some other Christmas cards that I've made, along with a playlist of the Christmas card video tutorials that I've done before. If you get a chance, please check out my blog. As I said, all of my products are linked there. You can definitely find everything that I've used there. And I also have a bunch more ideas and designs throughout my posts that you might want to take a look at as well. Other than that, I hope you've had a great time viewing, and I hope that you've been inspired to create something for yourself. Have a great weekend, guys, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.